Welcome to Green Easy's the Sustainable Construction podcast. This week we're interviewing Linda Daniels, who is the director of the Big Sustainability Expo in Southampton. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her first before we go into the questions. So businesses today are expected to prioritise very differently and to offer a fair greater insight into their social value and how they manage their carbon impact. And the same is true for the construction industry. So long-established stalwarts of business success, quality and customer service alone no longer cut it. The government, local authority and governing industry body legislation, as well as the end consumer, all expect far greater transparency of how responsible your practices are in terms of procurement, energy management, waste and recycling management, to name a few. So the ability to meet and stay ahead of these expectations has never been more important, and is finding the most efficient ways of staying ahead of the curve, which is why an exhibition is a vital part of the mix of busy construction professionals. For a construction company, it's about your headquarters and running them sustainably. It's about your site offices, your work sites from sales, and the actual build. Like I said before, you have a highly critical part to play in us becoming more responsible and meeting the UK's carbon reduction targets. So the title of today's podcast stroke videocast, hosted by Green Easy, as I said before, the Sustainable Construction podcast, is I cannot afford to take time out of my business to look at becoming a more sustainable construction provider. Linda Daniels, director of the Big Sustainability Expo, based in Southampton, begs to differ and asks, can you afford not to? Okay, so first of all, Linda, if running a responsible business is so important, why visit an exhibition in 2020?
Very good question. And I hear, like I say, a lot when we talk to construction companies about the fact that they don't have time to visit an exhibition. While an exhibition might be one of the oldest tools in terms of, the oldest business tool, the reason why it remains so is because it's one of the most efficient ways of getting information about your industry sector fast. Because we've got a unique ability to bring experts, innovators, investors, products, technologies and services under one roof. Exhibitions also, in my view, also provide a non-aggressive platform from which to ask questions. So it doesn't really matter how uninformed you might be, and you can get them answered in a non-sales-like environment. Running a business that focuses as much on being green as quality and customer service is unavoidable today. And I really cannot stress that enough in this podcast. So myself and my business partner launched the Big Sustainability Expo in Southampton back in 2016, because we didn't just want to simply advise on what people could be doing or should be doing for that matter. We wanted to provide something more, a complete learning platform from which they could actually make that happen. And how can a business move forward, find out what innovations are out there, unless they take time to stop, get out of their business for a few hours and find out what's going on in the world around them. And it really does pay off if you do take that time.
Great, okay. So going on to my second question. It's a big statement you made in Can You Afford Not to Take Time Out of Your Business? And you told me this is down to smarter procurement practices. So can you explain what you mean by that?
Yes, I think fundamentally everything in business comes down to what you need for the business and what you're buying, what you're bringing in. And all in all, the industry has the construction industry obviously has a large part to play. in looking at what they buy and the resources that they're taking out. I would say, first of all, that none of us can live or work without what the construction industry provides. It's absolutely vital. But having said that, it's not lost on me the unprecedented times the construction industry finds itself in right now with COVID-19. So, taking on board what I'm saying now and coming out the other, a sharper company will obviously help you to survive. So what I mean by can you afford not to stop and look at the running a more responsible business is that every business is wasting huge amounts of money if they don't take time to look at smarter procurement. So unless they're happy to waste money, and of course I don't imagine any business today wants that, but running a more responsible business demands that you stop and look at your business practices differently. And the good news is that by taking that time, benefits are extraordinarily rewarding, especially financially for the business, and we see this every day. Why? Because, like I said, it's about the cost of the job and how you can begin to save enormous amounts of money just by prioritising differently. However, I've heard construction companies and companies outside of the industry, say when it comes to procurement, well, we've always done it that way and it works. Firstly, I think the worst thing you can hear in this fast-moving world that we live in today is that we've always done it that way. And secondly, if it's being done so efficiently, why is the construction industry responsible for such a large percentage of the UK's waste? And if you boil it down, what does waste actually mean for your business? It means you're paying out good money in procurement every day, only to reduce your profits by throwing away what you've paid for in the first place. Firstly, there's what you're throwing away in the bins and skips that are coming onto the site. Secondly, there's the cost of removal, and there's a good deal of manpower that on site that's dealing with the waste. And that is our planet's resources, but it's also a waste of your profits. And I think that is highly significant, because that's why we're in business in the first place, is to be successful and make money. And even if that waste is produced by your subcontractors on site and you didn't therefore directly purchase those materials more than you need, it is in the end you who pays for them and your business that has to pay to get rid of them, just as a result of bad management when it comes to procurement. So, I would also ask if a company quantifies the cost of waste for their business, or if they simply put it down to the fact that it's always been done that way, and swallow it. So I just feel that, it's a very dangerous road to go down if you don't look at smarter procurement. And if you stop and take time to visit an exhibition, for example, like we run, then you're going to meet the experts who can help you with this. There are waste companies today who will detail all the waste they take from the site and feed that information back to you. It might make for extremely painful reading initially, but nothing can be fixed until you know the scale of the problem that you're actually dealing with. And really then, when you've seen the successes that you can get, no matter how small, you can shout about them. Your business can shout about them in the local press, on the website. That helps you with the way that people perceive your business going forward.
Okay, so moving on to the next question, Linda. Thank you for that answer. It was very comprehensive. So smarter procurement is fundamental to being a more responsible business, to meeting legislation and reducing overall costs.
Yes, like I've tried to say, I think it's fundamental to the whole business going forward, and fundamental to becoming a more responsible business with values that are necessary or increasingly necessary today. It's asking how long you want to be in business. Do I want to increase my chances of winning tenders for new business? Being a more responsible business is very important when it comes to tendering today. Do I want to increase profits by being smarter about what I bring into the business and therefore my waste and what I'm throwing away? If do you want to have a contingency in the job that allows you to pay for fines when you fall foul of legislation, which, as you know, Tom, is increasing all the time. And obviously, as I said, what do you want the perception of your business to be? What do you want it to say to your end customers? Smart procurement leads to a more sustainable, responsible business by default, really, and sends a message to the customer that, you can turn them into profits. And there are experts now who say that those businesses who don't follow these strategies may not even be in business in 5 years' time.
The construction industry has particular difficulties in terms of waste, as they are often inviting multiple contractors onto the sites.
Yes, absolutely. This is difficult, and it's difficult for many reasons. It's not just you that's responsible for being a sustainable business. But however, no matter how many contractors you have on site, then obviously, as the lead developer, the buck stops with you. And when it comes to legislation and meeting customer expectations, your name's on the board outside, of course. So no matter what you try to do to become a more sustainable constructor, you're most likely dealing with one-person subcontractors, so one-man band, we sometimes say, as well as SMEs who don't feel that running a more responsible business applies to them at all. But I see that this is how your company can bring on board what I call the ripple effect. And that's by beginning to put your own plans in place, to reduce your waste, etc., and acting on the strategy yourself. You'll begin to enjoy those results, and then when you see the benefits, you'll implement many more initiatives simply because they make sound financial sense. So in turn, what I mean by the ripple effect is that you can bring rules and regulations for contractors that are working on your site. You can set examples to them, and then maybe in turn that will make them understand that the way we do business has changed. They have to change some of their practices, and they'll take that forward when they work with other businesses as well. And these businesses are relying on you for work, and so they must adhere to what you're actually saying to them. You can offer guidance, you can involve them in paying for outside training to reduce the cost of your own training. Bring people together on site for training programs. There's plenty of companies at our exhibition that you can speak to about that. And ultimately what you're showcasing to these smaller contractors is that they're not working with just any construction company. They're working with one that cares about them, cares about the community they operate in, and the planet and its resources. So I think it's important to become a leader, not a follower, because you're the company that would be paid back tenfold if that's what you do.
That was great, thank you. So the next question is, when it comes down to solving the waste issue, what can they expect from visiting the expo in October?
Okay, well, people that take time out of their construction business, they want to, they want to talk Turkey with experts, and that's exactly what they can do at the show. It's as simple as that. And the companies that are there on the stands, they're there to share their knowledge, and they expect you to be asking these questions. You can learn by coming to an event like that you're not alone on the journey, and that there's an awful lot of product solutions and help out there for you. You can find out why other organisations are happy to adhere to this new way of working, because of the enormous benefits that they're already experiencing. You can find ways that you can tighten up what's coming onto the site. You know, I go back to procurement, talk to training providers for your procurement team and for you too, because change starts at the top. So why not go into some training yourself? And did you know that waste management companies can work with you, as I think I might have said before, to record what's coming onto site and help you to understand the true cost of your waste? You know, you can find out how to calculate the cost in man hours of dealing with waste on site. Talk to consultants who see firsthand the greater transparency expected from the industry and its consumers, and the benefits, you know, from following that lead. Talk to governing bodies in the waste sector who will also be exhibiting at the exhibition. Find out about making your office and operations more sustainable and efficient in terms of procurement, and save money that way too. You know, we cover things like sustainable travel and transport to save on waste, fuel and mileage. It's another part of the cost of running a construction company. And lastly, talk to other businesses that are in the same boat as you. Everyone has to start somewhere, and it's very easy to feel isolated, but I can assure you that when it comes to this, no business is or should feel isolated at all.
Great, thank you, Linda. So the next question, you talk about how to run the business in terms of sustainability. What about the build process itself? We don't have a lot of time to go into detail here, so let's look at energy.
Okay, yes. I mean, firstly, I personally believe that every build, refurbishment or extension, addition, if you like, should now include how to make it as efficient as possible in energy to reduce our carbon footprint. And of course, the industry itself, construction industry, has many guidelines already, and this is something that is always moving forward, and of which you are a particular expert, Tom. Energy in buildings, from my point of view, has been a bit of a sticking point. And what I mean by that is that I did have a period of time working in the renewable energy industry myself, sort of more than 5 years in some form or another. And I come back to costs to a business, and that new energy saving solutions are often seen by the developer, by the construction company, as an added cost to the build. And of course, I completely understand that thinking. You know, it's hard to have something new to add in and costly to the mix, yet another hurdle to meeting planning requirements. But with the company that I was involved with and others that I met along the way, you know, the renewable energy sector see it as a box ticking exercise. And by that, I mean the construction companies doing just enough to get their build projects over the line. How did the renewable energy companies feel that this could be improved? They always felt, you know, by talking to the renewable energy manufacturers and the installers very early on, you know, even before plans were drawn up. And of course, there are companies who are extremely adept at taking plans and actually building this into the process for you if you don't have that knowledge. And what the renewable energy results outcome would be for your end customer. You'll find these companies at the exhibition. You know, you can have conversations with renewable energy installers, energy providers also, because they can tell you that the more that you can do and the more that you reduce the cost of energy going into the build, it means a lot more for your customer, and you can find out exactly what that means. We have local authorities who exhibit with us as well, who are keen to talk to businesses about their own particular challenges in following green guidelines, and the difference it makes in terms of achieving planning permission, for example, and also, you know, winning council tenders, winning work from councils themselves. If renewable energy solutions are built into the plans, it not only helps achieving planning permission, but also with the cost of the builds and the end sales process. So rather than seeing it as an added cost, you know, for example, so take solar panels. You know, if we used what the French incorporate a lot and is used in the UK to some extent, an in-roof solution, that means adding solar panels directly onto the roof framework rather than on top of the tiles on the roof. You know, that saves on the purchase of tiles. It adds to the aesthetics of a building, because, you know, I do hear sometimes that construction companies don't feel that some of this stuff looks very attractive. Certainly architects might feel that, you know, but it provides more free energy for the customer, and also helps in marketing your company as a more sustainable company. So for me, you know, working early on with renewable energy experts is a win-win for the developer. My concern when I see new builds, say homes, for example, you drive around, see a lot of new builds at the moment, and a few token panels, say 4 on the roof, that doesn't really serve the end customer fully. It just is enough to get by with to get planning permission. And I wonder if it makes the homeowner themselves feel that solar energy isn't an efficient or very good tool, when in effect they just don't have enough to serve their needs. You know, my home, for example, I have solar panels, and excess energy can go into heating my hot water. But if I had 4 panels on the roof, that just wouldn't happen. If we talk about heating, for example, you know, I used to work with or talk to architects quite a bit, who were convinced that renewable energy heating solutions such as air source, for example, were not really adequate for UK homes. But largely it was down to the fact that in their early introduction, they just weren't specified correctly. But of course, then it leads a generation of professionals, architects, you know, who didn't trust the technology. Technology that's been used for 30, 40 years in countries around the world. And imagine having free, fresh air from outside actually heating your home or workplace. So, you know, again, I think come along to the exhibition, you meet the experts, you find out how the technologies have moved on, and they have dramatically. You find out what's available to you, and innovation. You know, it's one of the only places that you can find that out efficiently.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that. So, in summary, then, Linda, what can construction professionals cover during their time at your expo?
Okay, well, firstly, the exhibition itself is on the 6th of October this year. Runs from 9:30 to 4 p.m. Obviously, you can come for the whole day or dip in and out as you want. We don't charge to attend. There's lots of free parking. And it's held at the Hilton Aegis Bowl, Southampton, which is actually the home of Hampshire cricket, which means that it's easy access to Southampton from anywhere in the UK. And I would say, in terms of your question about what can they expect, you know, what can they find out? I mean, firstly, find out what's coming down the road at you. There's increasing pressure to conform to legislation, in particularly in energy and waste management. And what we don't want is for any business to fall foul of not meeting this legislation and even being fined. You know, find out how to complete tenders for new business and have a much higher chance of winning them. By being a more responsible business. You know, meet the changes in consumer expectation, which is, you know, is huge right now, and will only, you know, continue. That momentum will just continue. As I've tried to say here, you know, find out how to reduce the cost of running your business, and by in turn reduce the carbon impact of your business on your community. Protect our planet's resources. And there's so many solutions on the show floor and so many experts, and innovation in the industry is so important. You know, how do you find out what's the latest in lighting, heating, etc.? You know, don't always rely on the contractors that you might bring on board. to tell you that. Find out for yourselves. There's free workshops running all day. You can dip in and out of those. Why not come and test drive an electric car or electric van and find out what all that fuss is about? And then sit down in the Eco Coffee Lounge and just chat to other professionals about their challenges and how they've overcome them. And lastly, don't feel daunted about coming to an exhibition. If you don't really know what to expect or what to do during your day, get in touch with us. We'll plan the day for you. And really, the big thing I'd like to relay is that, feel secure about the future of your business, because you're moving in the right way, both sustainably, and you're benefiting from increasing your profits. And then we also run an awards program. So you know what, when you've put some of it in process, you don't have to have all the answers. Enter an award, put your business in for one of our awards. And we really do look forward to welcoming more construction companies to this show, because there's so much for you.
Okay, that was great. So Green Easy are hoping to exhibit at this year's event. So if you want to come and meet our team, we'll be there. But again, it looks like a totally amazing event. As Linda says, it's been going since 2016, and I still have yet to go, very stupidly. So I'll be there this year. That's great. If you want to find out some more information about the event, please look in the comments section, which will have the website and Linda's email address. So that's basically it. That's a wrap. Again, thank you to Linda, and thank you very much for viewing.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Tom.